The words I heard through that hospital door made my blood run cold. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 68 years old, and I never thought I'd have to say this, but my own daughter tried to kill me. Not with a gun or a knife, but with a signature on a piece of paper. This is my story. I spent 35 years teaching third grade at Lincoln Elementary in Seattle. I loved every single day of it. Watching children's faces light up when they finally understood a math problem or finished reading their first chapter book, that was my joy. My husband David died 7 years ago from pancreatic cancer. It was fast, brutal, 3 months from diagnosis to funeral. After that, it was just me in our little house in Ballard, the house we'd bought 40 years ago for $70,000. The neighborhood changed. Tech workers moved in. Property values skyrocketed. Last year, a realtor knocked on my door and told me my house was worth $850,000. I laughed and closed the door. Where would I go? This was my home. I have 2 children. My son Peter died in Afghanistan in 2009. He was 26. He left behind a daughter, Emma, who's 20 now and studying nursing at the University of Washington. Then there's Linda, my daughter. 42 years old, works in pharmaceutical sales. Or at least she used to. I learned later she'd been fired 6 months before all this happened. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Linda always wanted more. Even as a child, she'd look at what the other kids had and ask why she couldn't have the same thing. David and I tried to teach her that happiness doesn't come from material things, but I don't think it ever took. She married a man named Craig, a software engineer at Amazon. They had a beautiful wedding, expensive. David and I helped pay for it. They bought a house in Bellevue with a big mortgage. Then came the cars, the vacations, the designer clothes. Every time I visited, there was something new. About a year ago, Linda started calling more often. How was I doing? Did I need any help around the house? Was I thinking about the future? I thought she was genuinely concerned. I was wrong. The accident happened on a Tuesday morning in October. I was bringing in groceries from my car when I slipped on some wet leaves on the front steps. I fell backward, hit my head on the concrete path. I was dazed but conscious. A neighbor, Mrs. Watkins, saw me fall and called 911. The paramedics came, checked me out. They said I should go to the hospital just to be safe, get a CT scan to rule out any internal bleeding. I felt fine, just a little dizzy, but they insisted. I called Linda from the ambulance. She met me at Swedish Hospital. I was surprised how quickly she arrived, considering she lived 30 minutes away during rush hour. She seemed anxious, kept asking the paramedics questions. Was I okay? How bad was the fall? What were my injuries? I thought she was worried about me. The CT scan came back clean. A mild concussion, nothing more. The emergency room doctor said I could go home but should rest for a few days and have someone check on me regularly. That's when Linda insisted I stay overnight for observation. The doctor said it wasn't necessary, but Linda pushed. She told him I lived alone, that there was no one to monitor me. She made it sound like I was helpless. I started to protest, but she cut me off. Mom, please. I'll feel better if you stay. Just one night. For me, how could I say no? They moved me to a regular room on the 4th floor. Linda helped me get settled, fluffed my pillows, adjusted the TV. She seemed like the perfect daughter. A nurse came in to check my vitals and give me some water. Her name tag said Maria. She was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a warm smile. She reminded me of some of my former students, the ones who grew up to be helpers. Linda stayed for a few hours, then said she needed to run home to take care of some things. She'd be back in the morning to pick me up. She kissed my forehead and left. I watched some television, ate the terrible hospital dinner, and tried to sleep. The bed was uncomfortable, and I kept waking up every time someone walked past my room. Around 2 a.m, I needed to use the bathroom. As I was washing my hands, I heard voices outside my door. It was muted, but one voice was definitely Linda's. I was surprised. What was she doing here at 2 a.m? I opened the door a crack. Linda was standing in the hallway with a man in a white coat, a doctor I hadn't seen before. They were speaking in low voices, but I could hear them clearly. Dr. Harrison, I know this is unusual, but my mother is very ill, Linda was saying. She's been declining for months. Severe dementia, heart problems, the works. I froze. What was she talking about? I didn't have dementia. My heart was fine. I just had a physical 3 months ago. Everything was perfect for a woman my age. The doctor looked uncomfortable. Miss Chen, I've reviewed your mother's chart. She has a mild concussion from a fall. There's no indication of any cognitive impairment or cardiac issues. That's because she refuses to see specialists, Linda said quickly. She's in denial about her condition. This fall is just the beginning. She's a danger to herself. I've been trying to get her into a facility, but she won't listen. That's why I'm asking about a DNR order. Do not resuscitate. If something happens, I don't want her to suffer. My hand went to my mouth. DNR. She wanted them to let me die. A DNR is a serious decision, the doctor said. It should be the patient's choice, not the family's. Unless the patient is incapacitated and unable to make decisions, in which case we'd need proper documentation of medical power of attorney. I have power of attorney, Linda said. I could hear papers rustling. She signed it over to me last year when she was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. Here's the documentation. That was a lie. I'd never been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I'd never given her power of attorney. But she had papers. Had she forged them? The doctor was silent for a moment. Miss Chen, I'd like to speak with your mother directly about this. If she's as impaired as you say, I'll need to do my own evaluation. Of course, Linda said smoothly. But not tonight. She needs her rest. Maybe tomorrow morning? I just wanted to give you advance warning about the situation so you could prepare the necessary paperwork. I'll review these documents and speak with our legal department, the doctor said. But I'm not comfortable proceeding without a thorough evaluation of the patient's mental capacity. I understand. Thank you, doctor. I heard footsteps moving away. I quietly closed the door and stumbled back to my bed. My hands were shaking. My daughter, my baby girl, was trying to have me declared incompetent so she could sign a DNR order. If I had any medical emergency, they wouldn't try to save me. I'd just die. And she'd inherit everything. The house, my savings, my pension, everything. I lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Why would she do this? We weren't close, but I never thought she'd try to kill me. Then I remembered the phone calls over the past year. The questions about my finances. The suggestions that I sell the house and move into a retirement community. The offers to help me manage my money. She'd been planning this. I needed to think. I needed to be smart. If I confronted her now, if I told the staff what I'd heard, it would be my word against hers. She had forged documents. She could paint me as a confused old woman who misunderstood a conversation. I needed proof. I needed evidence. I looked around the room. On the nightstand was my cell phone. It was old. A flip phone David had bought me years ago. I never saw the point of those fancy smartphones everyone carried now. But flip phones could make calls, and they could record. David had shown me once how to use the voice memo feature, though I'd never actually used it. I picked up the phone and fumbled with the buttons in the dim light. It took me a few minutes, but I found it. The voice recorder. I tested it, playing back my voice. It worked. The quality wasn't great, but it was clear enough. I had a weapon now. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I lay there planning. When Maria the nurse came in at 6 a.m. to check on me, I must have looked terrible because she immediately asked if I was okay. Just didn't sleep well, I said. New place? Uncomfortable bed? You know how it is. She smiled sympathetically. Let me get you some coffee. That'll help. She was back in 5 minutes with a cup of terrible hospital coffee, but I was grateful for it. Maria, I said carefully, can I ask you something? Of course. If a patient has a DNR order, does the hospital inform the patient? She looked puzzled. Usually the patient is the one who requests a DNR. It's their decision about their own medical care. Why do you ask? Just curious. I've been thinking about end-of-life planning. My husband died a few years ago, and I've been putting off these kinds of decisions. Well, If you're thinking about it, you should talk to your doctor. They can explain all your options. But yes, it's always the patient's decision unless they're incapacitated. And even then, we need proper legal documentation, and we still try to respect what we think the patient would have wanted. What if someone forged that documentation? Maria's expression changed. She sat down in the chair next to my bed. Mrs. Chen, is something wrong? Are you worried about something? I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to pour out the whole story. But I stopped myself. I didn't know who I could trust. Linda had been planning this for a while. She might have allies in the hospital, people she'd talked to, people she'd convinced I was incompetent. I needed to be careful. No, I said, forcing a smile. Just thinking out loud. Too much late-night television. You know how those medical dramas get your mind going. She didn't look entirely convinced, but she let it go. Well, the doctor should be by soon to discharge you. You're going home today. After she left, I got dressed and waited. Around 9 o'clock, Linda arrived, all smiles and concern. Mom, how are you feeling? Did you sleep okay? I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to ask her how she could do this to me, but I didn't. I smiled back and played the role she expected. I'm fine, sweetheart, just tired, ready to go home. Actually, Mom, I was thinking, Linda said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Maybe you shouldn't go home just yet. Maybe you should come stay with Craig and me for a few days, just until we're sure you're really okay. That's sweet of you, but I'm fine. I just want to sleep in my own bed. But what if you fall again? What if something happens and no one's there? Linda, I'm 68, not 98. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Her expression flickered, just for a moment. Annoyance? Frustration? Then the concerned daughter mask was back. I know. I just worry about you, Mom, especially after what happened. I slipped on some leaves. It wasn't a stroke or a heart attack. I'm fine. The doctor came in then, the one from the emergency room, not Dr. Harrison from the night before. He checked me over, gave me discharge instructions, and said I was free to go. Linda helped me gather my things and walked me to her car. The whole drive to my house, she kept bringing up the idea of me selling and moving into a retirement community. I nodded and made non-committal sounds, my mind elsewhere. When we got to my house, she insisted on coming inside and making sure I was settled. She checked the refrigerator, threw away some leftovers she deemed too old, and made me promise to call her if I needed anything. Then, finally, she left. I sat in my living room for a long time after she drove away. Then I made a phone call. My friend Janet, another retired teacher, had gone through a messy divorce a few years back. She'd told me about her lawyer, a woman named Patricia Hoffman, who specialized in family law and elder abuse. I'd never thought I'd need that number, but I'd kept it just in case. Patricia answered on the third ring. I explained the situation, told her what I'd overheard in the hospital. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. Mrs. Chen, she said finally, what you're describing is elder abuse and potentially attempted murder. But you're right that you need more evidence. A conversation you overheard isn't enough, especially if she has forged documents. We need to catch her in the act. How do we do that? First, I need to see those documents she showed the doctor. I can file a request with the hospital. Second, you need to get copies of your actual medical records, the real ones, showing you have no cognitive impairment. Third, and this is important, you need to record any conversations with your daughter where she discusses this plan. Can you do that? I have a voice recorder on my phone. Good, but be careful. Washington is a two-party consent state for recording, which means technically you need permission from everyone in the conversation. However, there's an exception if you have reason to believe a crime is being committed. Document everything: dates, times, what was said. And Mrs. Chen? Don't confront her. Not yet. We need to let her think her plan is working. Over the next 2 weeks, I became an actress. Linda called every day, and I played the part of a confused, declining old woman. I'd forget where I put things. I'd mix up days of the week. I'd ask her to repeat things. Each time, I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. She thought it was working. She thought I was really declining. Meanwhile, Patricia worked behind the scenes. She got the documents Linda had shown Dr. Harrison. They were forgeries, clever ones. The signature looked like mine, but there were subtle differences. The notary stamp was real, but when Patricia traced it, the notary had no record of me ever signing anything. Someone had stolen their stamp. I went to my own doctor, Dr. Reeves, and asked for a complete cognitive evaluation. He was puzzled, but agreed. I did hours of tests: memory, reasoning, problem solving. When the results came back, he told me I scored in the 95th percentile for my age group. "Margaret," he said, "your mind is as sharp as someone 30 years younger. Why did you want these tests?" I told him. His face went white. "Your daughter is trying to do what?" "I need you to document everything," I said. "Every test, every result. Write a letter stating my mental competency. Can you do that?" He did. He also reported the situation to Adult Protective Services. They opened an investigation. Linda kept calling. She was getting impatient. "Mom, I really think we need to talk about your living situation. That house is too big for you. And the stairs. After your fall, I'm worried." "I don't want to sell, Linda. I know. But what if we just looked at some places? Just to see what's out there?" I found a really nice assisted living facility in Kirkland. They have studios, all on one floor, 24-hour care. "I don't need 24-hour care, Mom." Her voice had an edge now. "You're not getting any younger. Last week you called me at midnight asking what day it was. You forgot our phone call on Tuesday. Yesterday you told me the same story twice. I'd done all those things on purpose, playing my role." But hearing the coldness in her voice when she thought I couldn't understand, it broke my heart all over again. "Maybe you're right," I said softly. "Maybe I should look at some places." "Really?" She sounded surprised but pleased. "That's great, Mom. I'll set up some tours. Maybe this weekend?" "Sure. That sounds nice." After I hung up, I cried. I cried for the daughter I thought I had, the one who existed in my memories, the little girl who used to make me cards on Mother's Day and tell me she loved me. That girl was gone, if she ever existed at all. This woman on the phone was a stranger who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to money. Patricia advised me to go on the tours with Linda. "We need more evidence of intent," she said. "Let her show you these places. Record the conversations. Let her talk about your finances, about the house. The more she reveals, the stronger our case." That Saturday, Linda picked me up and drove me to 3 different facilities. They were nice enough, but they all felt like warehouses for old people waiting to die. Linda kept emphasizing the costs, how they'd need to sell the house to afford it, how it would be better to do it now while I could still enjoy it. At the 3rd place, after the tour, we sat in her car in the parking lot. My phone was in my pocket, recording. "So, what do you think, Mom?" Linda asked. "I don't know. It's a lot to take in. I know it's scary. But, Mom, you have to think practically. The house is worth so much now. If we sell it, we can pay for your care for years. You'll be safe, you'll have people around, and you won't have to worry about anything. But it's my home." "I know. But, Mom, you're not safe there. And honestly, with your memory issues, you're not going to be able to live independently much longer. I'm trying to help you plan ahead before it becomes a crisis." "What happens to the money from the house after I'm gone?" I asked carefully. She hesitated. "Well, it would be part of your estate. Craig and I would inherit it, and Emma would get Peter's share." "Would you?" I asked. "What do you mean? Would Emma get Peter's share, or would you keep it all?" Linda's expression changed. For just a moment, I saw something cold and calculating. Then she smiled. "Mom, that's not something we need to worry about right now. Let's just focus on finding you a safe place to live." I didn't push it. I had what I needed. That night, I listened to the recording. Patricia listened too. "She's careful," Patricia said. "She didn't admit to anything illegal. But combined with the forged documents and the hospital incident, we're building a case." The next week, Linda started pushing for me to sign papers. Power of attorney, she said. Just a formality so she could help manage my care. I kept putting her off, saying I needed time to think. She was getting frustrated. I could hear it in her voice during our calls. Then Adult Protective Services showed up at Linda's house. They told her they'd received a report of potential elder abuse, and they needed to investigate. Linda called me immediately after they left, furious. "Mom, did you call APS on me? Did you tell them I was abusing you?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, my voice confused. "What's APS?" "Adult Protective Services. They came to my house asking questions about you, about your finances, about whether I was trying to get you to sign papers." "Why would they do that?" "I didn't call anyone." I could hear her breathing hard. "Someone did. Was it Mrs. Watkins? That nosy neighbor of yours?" "Linda, I don't know. I'm confused. What's going on?" She hung up on me. For the next few days, she didn't call. Patricia said that was a good sign. She's scared. She's wondering if someone knows. This is when people make mistakes. The mistake came on a Thursday afternoon. Linda showed up at my house unannounced. She had papers with her. "Mom, we need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the living room. "What's wrong?" "I need you to sign these. Now. It's the power of attorney. I should have done this months ago." "I don't understand." "Why now?" "Because someone is trying to make trouble for us. Someone called APS, and they're investigating me for elder abuse. Can you believe that? Me, after everything I've done for you." "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I don't know who would do that." "Well, the best way to show them there's nothing wrong is for you to sign these papers. It proves you trust me, that you want me to help take care of you." "Can I read them first?" "Mom, you won't understand them. They're full of legal language. Just sign them. I'm your daughter. You can trust me." I picked up the papers and pretended to read them. My phone was on the coffee table, recording. "Linda, it says here that you'd have control of all my finances, my property, my medical decisions." "Yes, that's what power of attorney means. So I can help you. But what if I don't want to sell the house?" "Mom, we've been over this. You can't stay there." "What if I die? What happens to everything?" "Then it goes through probate and Craig and I inherit it. That's how it works." "What about Emma?" Linda's face hardened. "Emma is Peter's kid. She's not my responsibility." "But Peter was your brother," was being the key word. "He's gone. And I'm the one who's here, taking care of you. I'm the one who deserves something for all this effort." There it was. The mask was off. "Effort?" I repeated. "Is that what I am to you? Effort?" "Mom, don't twist my words. I just meant that I'm the one doing all the work here. Emma's in school. She can't help. So yes, I think I've earned the right to inherit your estate." "And the DNR? Did you earn the right to decide when I die?" The room went completely silent. Linda stared at me. "What did you say?" "I heard you at the hospital, talking to Dr. Harrison about getting a DNR order, about how I had dementia and heart problems, how I was incompetent. But Linda, I don't have dementia. I've never had a cognitive evaluation that showed any impairment. Those documents you showed the doctor were forged." Her face went pale, then red. "You were awake? You heard that?" "Every word." "Mom, you don't understand. I was just trying to make sure you were comfortable. I didn't want you to suffer if something happened. You wanted me to die, so you could inherit the house." "That's not true." "Then why did you forge medical power of attorney documents? Why did you lie to the doctor about my mental state? Why are you here right now trying to get me to sign papers giving you control of everything I own?" Linda's expression cycled through emotions. Shock, anger, fear, and finally, cold calculation. "Who's going to believe you? You're a confused old woman. I have documents. I have witnesses who've heard you forget things, mix up days. Your own daughter saying you're not competent. Versus what? Your word?" "Not just my word." I picked up my phone and stopped the recording. "I have this conversation, and the ones from the past 2 weeks. And I have my actual medical records showing I'm perfectly competent. And the hospital has a record of your conversation with Dr. Harrison. And Adult Protective Services is investigating you. And my lawyer has copies of your forged documents. The blood drained from her face. You've been recording me? Every conversation since the hospital. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. Washington law allows recording when you have reason to believe a crime is being committed. And attempted murder qualifies. I wasn't trying to murder you. What do you call trying to get a DNR order for someone who doesn't need one? What do you call forging documents to take control of their medical decisions and finances? What were you planning, Linda? Another fall? Maybe some wrong medication? Something that looks like a natural death, so no one would investigate? She stood up, trembling. You can't prove any of that. Maybe not. But I can prove the forgery. I can prove you lied to a doctor. I can prove you tried to have me declared incompetent when I'm not. That's enough for an elder abuse charge. And once the investigation starts, who knows what else they'll find. Linda grabbed her purse. You're going to regret this. I already regret it. I regret that I raised a daughter who values money more than her own mother's life. I regret that I didn't see what you were becoming. But I don't regret protecting myself. She ran out of the house. I heard her car screech out of the driveway. Then I sat down on the couch and called Patricia. I have everything, I told her. She admitted it. All of it. The legal process moved faster than I expected. Patricia filed for a restraining order, keeping Linda away from me. The forged documents were turned over to the police. The district attorney's office got involved. Within a month, Linda was charged with attempted elder abuse, forgery, and fraud. Craig filed for divorce. He claimed he had no idea what Linda had been planning. Maybe that was true. Or maybe he just didn't want to go down with her. Either way, he was smart enough to distance himself. The case didn't go to trial. Patricia said Linda's lawyer advised her to take a plea deal. She pled guilty to the forgery and fraud charges. The attempted elder abuse charge was dropped. She got 3 years probation, community service, and a permanent restraining order. She was also required to pay restitution for my legal fees. But the worst punishment, at least from Linda's perspective, was the will. I had Patricia draw up a new one. Everything goes to Emma now. The house, my savings, my pension, all of it. Linda gets nothing. When I told Emma about everything that had happened, she cried. She hugged me and told me she was sorry, that she had no idea Linda was capable of something like that. I should have seen it, Emma said. I should have known something was wrong. How could you have known? I didn't know until it was almost too late. Emma moved in with me after that. She said she wanted to be close by, to make sure I was okay. But I think she also needed the family connection. We're all each other has now. In the evenings, she studies for her nursing exams at the kitchen table while I grade papers. I volunteer now at Lincoln Elementary, helping new teachers. Turns out even retired teachers can't completely leave the classroom. I think about Linda sometimes. I wonder if she regrets what she tried to do, or if she only regrets getting caught. I wonder if the daughter I remember ever really existed, or if that was just a role she played until it wasn't useful anymore. Part of me hopes that someday she'll realize what she lost. Not the money or the house, but the relationship, the trust, the love. But mostly, I've learned to let it go. I'm 68 years old. I have a granddaughter who loves me, a house full of memories, and the satisfaction of knowing I fought back when someone tried to take it all away. I survived. And that's enough. Maria, the nurse from the hospital, reached out to me a few months ago. She said she'd heard what happened and wanted to apologize for not seeing the signs. I told her there was nothing to apologize for, that Linda had fooled everyone. We meet for coffee sometimes now. She tells me about her shifts at the hospital, and I tell her about Emma's progress in nursing school. It's nice to have a friend who understands. People ask me if I'm angry. Honestly, I was. I was furious. I felt betrayed and heartbroken and scared. But anger is exhausting. And at my age, I don't have energy to waste on people who don't deserve it. Instead, I choose to focus on what I have rather than what I lost. I thought about what that doctor said in the hospital, about how a DNR should be the patient's choice. I went ahead and made my own advance directive. I put Emma in charge of my medical decisions, with very specific instructions about what I want and don't want. I did it on my terms, when I was ready, with a clear mind and no one manipulating me. That felt powerful. Taking control of my own end-of-life decisions, making sure my wishes would be respected. The house is different now with Emma here. There's music playing, shoes by the door, textbooks scattered on the counter. It feels alive again, in a way it hasn't since David died. Emma wants to be a geriatric nurse. She says what happened with Linda made her realize how vulnerable older people can be, how much they need advocates. I'm proud of her. Peter would be proud too. Sometimes I drive past the assisted living facility Linda wanted to put me in. I see the residents sitting in the common room, watching television, waiting for visiting hours. I'm not judging them or that lifestyle. For some people, it's the right choice. But for me, I'm glad I'm still in my own home, still making my own decisions, still living life on my terms. The other day, Mrs. Watkins from next door brought over some cookies. We sat on my front porch drinking tea and watching the neighborhood kids ride their bikes. She asked if I ever heard from Linda. I said no, and I didn't expect to. Then she said something that stuck with me. You know, Margaret, what your daughter tried to do. It's terrible. But in a way, you're lucky. You found out the truth while you could still do something about it. A lot of people don't realize until it's too late. She's right. I'm lucky. Lucky I woke up that night to use the bathroom. Lucky I heard that conversation. Lucky I had the presence of mind to gather evidence instead of just confronting Linda immediately. Lucky I had people like Patricia and Dr. Reeves and Maria who believed me and helped me. I'm lucky I'm still here, still in control of my own life. That's what Linda didn't understand. She saw me as an obstacle, an asset to be liquidated. She forgot I'm a person, with rights and dignity and the ability to fight back. She underestimated me because of my age. That was her mistake. I learned something important through all this. Age is just a number. It doesn't define your worth or your ability to stand up for yourself. I'm 68, not dead. My mind is sharp, my will is strong, and I'm not going anywhere until I'm good and ready. To anyone listening to this who's going through something similar, who suspects a family member is trying to take advantage of them, here's my advice. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Get a good lawyer. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. And most importantly, don't let anyone convince you that you're too old or too confused to know what's happening to you. You know. Deep down, you know. And if you're a Linda out there, someone thinking about taking advantage of an elderly parent or relative, let me tell you something. They know. They might not show it. They might play along, but they know. And when you're caught, and you will be caught, you'll lose more than money. You'll lose trust, respect, family, your integrity. You'll lose everything that actually matters. Is it worth it? I can tell you from experience, it's not. I'm still here. I'm still Margaret Chen. I'm still teaching, still learning, still living. Linda tried to write the ending to my story, but she forgot something important. I'm the only one who gets to decide when my story ends. And I'm not done yet. Not by a long shot.